Hello and welcome to World Literature Reflections, the only show on primetime where I interrogate people about what they have learned in their world literature class. Today's guest, me! What's happening? Hi, yes, hello, I know you're very excited to be here, but we have no time for introductions. So let's get to the meat of it. What have you read, watched, and listened to so far in your world literature class, and what connections have you drawn between the materials? Well, we've been learning a lot about cave paintings, but recently we've also branched out into early written literature, like the Epic of Gilgamesh and Hammurabi's Code. Fascinating. Do tell, which articles of media have impacted you the most, and why?
Great question, Jimothy. I'm so glad you asked.
Personally, I felt myself the most impacted by Werner Herzog's 2010 documentary, Cave of Forgotten Dreams, which focuses on Chauvet Cave, a cave located in southern France that contains hundreds of perfectly preserved cave paintings and artifacts that are tens of thousands of years old. As a documentarian myself, I already have much appreciation for the medium through which Herzog presents the cave. It does not appear quite so polished as many documentaries have come to look, but that just serves to make the experience of watching the documentary feel all the more raw and real. And I do not believe it would have had the same impact if the cave had been lit professionally. The way that the documentarian's lights dipped, ebbed, and flowed over the uneven walls of Chauvet Cave added yet another layer to the visual element of the documentary. It made me feel as though the cave were trapped in time, a sentiment that was reflected by many of the cave's explorers. Documentary filmmaking is a creative medium, one that requires innovation and careful thought when it comes to capturing B-roll. In this case, shots of the cave to overlay with talking heads, interviews, in order to keep the experience visually interesting to the viewers. However, in Cave of Forgotten Dreams, the camera people had very limited freedoms when it came to camera angles and positioning, which made the artistic shots that they did manage to achieve all the more impressive. One such shot that stood out to me was towards the beginning of the film, and showcased one of the members of the crew who was handling lighting in something of a tight spot, turning around with a light in his hand. What was special, impactful about this shot to me, was the formation of the cave around the man. To me, it looked like an eye, with the man as the iris and his light as the pupil. Whether the symbolism was intentional or not on Herzog and the editor's parts, I don't know, but to me that shot was reflective of some themes or ideas in the documentary. In my mind, it represented the opening of humanity's collective eye to this cave and the history that it holds, as well as the cameras themselves, as sort of an artificial eye which brings this information out of the cave and shares it with us, the viewers, who are my third interpretation of the eye. And it was through these eyes, be they real, mechanical, or metaphorical, that I found myself drawn into the world that the artists of Chauvet Cave had created for themselves. The cave is an almost perfect look back in time, full of beautiful sketches of cave lions and horses upon horses upon horses. Apparently, cave people really liked painting horses.
Horses, you say? What's all this about horses?
Well, if you let me finish, I would tell you. As I was saying, there are many paintings of horses in Chauvet Cave, and as with the rest of the paintings in the cave, we do not know what they mean. The film does not give us a definite explanation, and neither did the multiple articles related to and focusing on the general subject of cave paintings that we were assigned to read. Some of these articles or books made suppositions, but none of these could be proved as undoubtedly true. Nonetheless, there are paintings of horses in these caves, and that is what's important when it comes to making connections between the paintings themselves, this documentary, and the rest of the world literature course. Throughout class, the presence of horses in written and drawn art has been a constant theme that I have drawn from in order to make connections between materials and across creative mediums. Most notably, these horses are present in Becoming a Horse by Ross Gay and She Had Some Horses by Joy Harjo. Both are contemporary poems, and I have to admit, I am not the biggest fan of poetry. I love music, and Loma's Dark Oscillations did manage to strike me with a general emotional impact due to its lyrics and rich backing track, but poetry, not so. So when it came to analyzing what I wondered, thought, and felt about She Had Some Horses, I guess you could say I wondered when it was going to be over, thought that I didn't understand what the author was trying to convey, and felt bored.
I respect the art of poetry and those who create and strive to understand it, but most poetry, and this poem in particular, failed to strike a chord with me. Maybe I'm just not enough of a horse girl to appreciate it, but I found the wording a tad too repetitive for my tastes, even if I could recognize that it was done for stylistic reasons.
I hope that I'll be able to appreciate poetry more in the future, but for the time being, I would not say that She Had Some Horses or Becoming a Horse left a significant impact on me. I do not regret reading and listening to them, but I know that I did not appreciate them as much as a lover of poetry might.
However, I did enjoy listening to Dog Days Are Over, despite its gratuitous mention of horses.
Don't be like that. At least I'm trying. What have you done other than stand around here and make fun of me?
Actually, if you must know, I've been reading poetry in my spare time.
You're assigned poetry? Well, whoop-dee-doo, dearest Jimothy. Don't tell me that you, a one-off character, have dared to have thoughts about this?
First off, my name isn't Jimothy. Second, yes, actually, I have had many thoughts about it. In fact, I have composed a poem in order to relay my thoughts.
I have some horses. I think horse poems are cool, and you should too, dude. It's a haiku. Do you like it?
No.
Well, I think that it is pretty cool, and so are those other horse poems. If you take the time to analyze them, you'd see that they hold deep meanings and can be interpreted in many different ways and affect everyone differently. No good poem can only be read one way, interpreted one way, and I think that the deliberate malleability and versatility of these poems is what makes them impactful. Okay, you've made your point.
Can you get off your high horse so we can wrap this up now?
Ha! You said!
Test me. Wait! You're forgetting the most important part.
What?
I think this speaks for itself.
I'm going home.
Good night, America.